Hello everyone and welcome to Talking Class with Roland-ish. I'm Matt, and in this video I'm going to break down all the features you get playing a Paladin in D&D's 5.5 edition or your 2024 Player's Handbook. We're going to look at levels 1 through 20 today and all the features that you get. In addition, there will be a separate video that will break down what you get with the 4 subclasses for the Paladin. If you haven't done so already, check out our Talking Class playlist. There you're going to find a breakdown of all the features levels 1 through 20 for the other classes, in addition to a separate video that breaks down what you get in their subclasses. Paladin is my favorite class, so let's dive right in. Your primary ability is going to be Strength and Charisma for the Paladin. Strength will come through the melee fighting that the Paladin does, and the spellcasting ability will be Charisma. We'll talk about that a little bit more when we get into the spellcasting. Your hit point die is slightly higher than average at a d10 per level, and your saving throw proficiencies will be Wisdom and Charisma here. Notice how it did not follow Strength and Charisma like your primary abilities. Wisdom is very, very important in this game, and having a Wisdom saving throw proficiency is probably the best one out of them to have. It shows up, I think, the most frequently. So your Paladin being good at Strength, but more proficient in Charisma and Wisdom, I think makes them a little bit more well-rounded as a class. As far as skill proficiencies go, you get to choose 2 between Athletics, Insight, Intimidation, Medicine, Persuasion, and Religion. And here you see Strength, Wisdom, and Charisma show up once more. Athletics is strength-based, Insight is Wisdom, Persuasion and Intimidation is Charisma. So I would lean towards making those 3 your focus as you build your Paladin, and consider making those your highest ability scores. As far as weapon proficiencies go, you get them all, simple and martial. Same thing could be said for armor. You get light, medium, heavy, and use of shields. For starting equipment, you have 2 options: chainmail and shield for your armor, longsword and 6 javelins for weapons. Javelins are to be thrown, and that will serve as your range weapon. You don't really have a ton of range weapon options here right at starting equipment because you're usually on the front line and might not need to use a ranged weapon. But you got them. You'll have a holy symbol, a priest's pack, and 9 gold. Alternatively, you could take option B and just take 150 gold and work with your DM on exactly what equipment you want. Paladins are going to be champions of a cause. Some like to lean into the serve a deity aspect. Some might lean into being a town's champion of sorts, or a hero from battles past, or maybe you're the voice of the voiceless, defender of the weak and those who need protecting. If that speaks to you, you're in the right place. So let's talk about the table. Your physical and digital book has a copy of this table where you'll see at what levels your proficiency bonuses will grow, where your channel divinities will increase, where your number of prepared spells will increase, and how many spell slots you're able to access. Don't get too excited about the spells because you are really not a spellcaster. This is not a lot of spell slots. This is not a lot of prepared spells. And most of the spells that paladins have access to are buffing the party, buffing your weapon, controlling the battlefield like a charm person, or healing. And I know that describes a lot of different spells, but these are very limited in your options. So I really wouldn't put a ton of focus into being a spellcaster. This is the wrong class for that. But with buffing your weapon, you could be the one that's actually hitting the hardest in the party, not the barbarian. So something to consider as we move on. Level 1, you get access to Lay on Hands. This is a healing pool that you have access to, and it replenishes fully after you finish a long rest. With that pool, you can restore a total number of hit points equal to 5 times your Paladin level. So at level 1, you have 5 total points in your healing pool. But as you level up, that will continue to grow. How to use it is with a bonus action. You touch a creature, someone else, or yourself, and you use that pool to restore healing points to that creature, up to a maximum amount remaining in the pool. So if you need to dump the whole pool into yourself or an ally, you could. You could also alternatively expend 5 points from that pool to remove the poisoned condition for you or the creature that you're healing. Remember, poisoned is affecting a creature to give them disadvantage on all attack rolls and skill checks. So that is pretty important to remove should you or your party have that condition placed on them in combat, I would take care of that right away. You also have access to your spell casting. Your spell casting ability is going to be charisma, and you'll get spell slots, but not a lot. Any that you expend will replenish after you finish a long rest. Um, at level 1, you could choose 2 first level paladin spells. If you're having trouble deciding, the book recommends Heroism and Searing Smite. I would recommend that you take any spell that has the word smite in it because that is a buff to your weapon and it does additional damage. And some of them do additional damage and something else, like put an effect on it. Um, so take a look at the smite spells first, and you be the judge of how you want your paladin to take spells. Changing your prepared spells can take place after you finish a long rest. You can replace one on your list with another one. It's one at a time, one per long rest. But if you're finding that you're not using some as often as you originally thought, you can swap them out. Your spellcasting focus would typically be your holy symbol or something else. As a DM, I allow some flavors to this. Maybe it's a sigil of your house or your city on your armor. Maybe it's the symbol that is on your shield that you're always holding, so it makes sense that you could cast spells from it, or a weapon. Something cool like that. You flavor it up. At level 1, you also get access to Weapon Mastery. Now, this is a feature that does an additional something to your weapon, and you can only place a certain amount on weapons to start out. Here at level 1, you could put 2 kinds of weapons in your arsenal as having mastery. Whenever you finish a long rest, you can change the kinds of weapon mastery you chose. So take a look because weapon mastery properties are actually broken down in chapter 6. And these are many options you have between cleave, graze, nick, push, sap, slow, topple, and vex. I'll read a couple just so you understand what they do. If you have a push weapon, you hit a creature with this weapon and can push the creature up to 10 feet straight away from yourself if it is large or smaller. If you topple a creature, you can force the creature to make a constitution saving throw. The DC or difficulty class for that would be 8 plus the ability modifier used to make the attack roll, like strength, plus your proficiency bonus. On a failed save, you knock that creature prone. So there are additional things that your weapons can perform if they have the mastery property placed on them, so you'll need to make that choice to choose wisely. At level 2, you get to pick a fighting style. These are broken down for you in Chapter 5. I would recommend for your paladin taking either blind fighting, which gives you blind sight with a range of 10 feet. This means any enemy or creature within 10 feet of you um, that isn't behind total cover, you would know about. And I say it specifically, you would know about, because even if you're blinded, you know about them. You don't have to physically see them with your eyeballs. Even if they are invisible, you can sense them. That is important to have, especially if you plan on being the paladin, the tank, the one on the front lines. Those hiding on the front lines trying to gain advantage on you won't because you'll sense that they are there. Another good option is defense. Basically, while you're wearing armor, you get a +1 to your AC, just cuz. And I think that's great for, again, those paladins who might need to be on the front lines. Sometimes you might want to swing a great weapon that requires both hands. You would have to stow your shield for that. You're going to lose 2 points to your AC when stowing your shield. Having defense as your fighting style mitigates that risk and allow you to pretty much freely choose between what weapons you want to use in combat. That's just an example on how I like to think about it. So also you get Blessed Warrior. This is going to give you 2 cleric cantrips of your choice if you're having trouble deciding. Guidance and Sacred Flame are recommended by the book, and they're both good because Guidance is a buff and Sacred Flame does some damage. You'll use Charisma for the spellcasting ability for those. Remember, those are 2 cantrips coming from the cleric spell list, so take a look at that. Also at level 2, you get access to your smite. You always have the Divine Smite spell prepared, and in addition, you can cast it once without expending a spell slot, but you have to finish a long rest to replenish that again. Divine Smite's a good one because it deals an extra 2d8 radiant damage on your target, which is always nice. It is a first level spell. It does an additional d8 of that radiant damage if the creature type is a fiend or undead for a total of 3. You can upcast this spell. So if you cast Divine Smite at any spell level higher than first, the damage increases by a d8 for each level. That is the Paladin's calling card, the Divine Smite. I would definitely use those when you need them in combat um, to get an extra bit of damage on your enemy. At level 3, you get access to your Channel Divinity. This is an expendable feature, kind of like a barbarian has rages. This is yours. You get 2 right off the bat, and you can replenish one of them after a short rest or both after a long rest. The first option that you get for your Channel Divinity is going to be Divine Sense. As a bonus action, you can detect celestials, fiends, or undead for the next 10 minutes or until you are incapacitated. You'll know the location of such a creature within 60 feet of yourself, and you'll know which type. Within that same radius, you also detect the presence of any place or object that has been consecrated or desecrated, as with the Hollow spell. So this is a good thing to have, especially if you're in an area, you're hunting undead or fiends, or you suspect they may be in the area. This would be a good use of that to not get surprised attacked by those creatures. Also, at level 3, you get to choose your subclass. There will be a separate video breaking these down, but the 4 options are the Oath of Devotion, Oath of Glory, Oath of the Ancients, and Oath of Vengeance. This is an oath you take to your cause, and it means something. What are the tenets of those oaths? You find out as you read those subclasses. That should help guide your roleplay behavior. And if you break your oath, there are consequences. For the DMs out there, what you could do is require your paladin to pay some kind of penance. Maybe it's an all night vigil. And in that vigil, they're requesting forgiveness of their deity for what they've done. Tack on a level of exhaustion for the fact that they couldn't long rest due to this vigil. It's a small price to pay for breaking their oath, and it makes it mean something. Perhaps your paladin then becomes an oath breaker. What does that mean? What penalties do you enforce? Do you make them choose a new oath at that point? You could also look at the Player's Handbook from 2014 or 5th edition, because there are options within that give you what could you give as features for an oath breaker. There's a lot of ways to play that, but the point is it opens up the door for collaboration between you and your player. At level 4, and again at levels 8, 12, and 16, you get the ability score improvement. This is where you can improve one of your ability scores by 2 points or 2 of your ability scores by 1 point each. Alternatively, you can take a feat. They are broken down in Chapter 5. Work with your DM on what's available for your campaign so you choose the right thing that works for your story. And no, you're not choosing an epic boon feat here. You'll do that much, much higher levels. At level 5, you get extra attack. This means you can attack twice instead of once when you use the attack action. Also at level 5, you get access to the Faithful Steed spell and can use it once without expending a spell slot. You can replenish that freebie after you finish a long rest. Otherwise, it is going to expend a spell slot, and it is a 2nd level spell. What it is going to do is conjure an otherworldly being to be your steed. It could be a celestial, a fae, or a fiend. You determine what that looks like, but the spell itself describes perhaps using a horse, a camel, a direwolf, or an elk. Something of that medium-sized creature. I wouldn't go with an elephant or something like that. But it also takes a stat block specifically called the Otherworldly Steed, not the animal that you choose. In combat, it will use your initiative and it will be an ally to you and your allies. If you have the incapacitated condition, it's still going to take its turn immediately after yours and act independently, mainly putting itself between you and enemies to shield you. There are some other benefits of Fine Steed. Take a look at that spell. It's pretty awesome. You get that at level 5. At level 6, you gain your Aura of Protection. This is an unseeable aura that radiates from you 10 feet with you at its center. And this is going to just be active until you are incapacitated. What it does is it gives you and your allies a bonus to saving throws equal to your charisma modifier. So it's another incentive to make your charisma perhaps your first or second highest ability here for your paladin. Important note here is if another paladin is present and their aura is also active, a creature can only benefit from one aura at a time, and that creature can determine which. Perhaps based on your subclass or level, you might have a different feature with your aura that might benefit that creature, so they get the choice. At level 9, you get Abjure Foes. As a magic action, you can expend a use of your channel divinity. As you present your holy symbol, you can target a number of creatures equal to your charisma modifier that you can see within 60 feet of you. Each target must succeed on a wisdom saving throw or become frightened of you for 1 minute or until it takes any damage. Might be good to frighten a creature to single them out, get them out of the way, so you can focus fire on the others who aren't frightened. As frightened in this way, a target can only do one of the following: move, take an action, or a bonus action. Only one. At level 10, your aura gets a little stronger, and it's called the Aura of Courage. This means you and your allies in your aura are immune to the frightened condition. And if a frightened creature enters your aura, they lose the frightened condition. So it's super beneficial, especially when you're on the front lines, to be radiating something like this to gain the benefit of the saving throw boost and to be immune to frightened. It's pretty great for you other players out there. Wherever your paladin is on the battlefield, go stand next to them. At level 11, you get Radiant Strikes. This means whenever you hit a target with a melee attack or an unarmed strike, the target takes an extra 1d8 radiant damage because you've got Holy Fists now. At level 14, you get Restoring Touch. Remember your Lay on Hands feature, that pool of hit points you can use to heal? Remember how you could spend 5 of those hit points to remove the poisoned condition from a creature? Here at level 14, you could also remove one or more of the following conditions: blinded, charmed, deafened, frightened, paralyzed, or stunned. You must expend 5 hit points per condition, but you can do that to remove any of those conditions. What's nice is your radiating aura, and since Lay on Hands requires you to touch, as soon as you get close to that creature, that aura is going to remove frightened from them right away. So what other conditions are ailing them? Now you've just saved yourself 5 hit points to your pool by not having to spend them on frightened because your aura already does that. At level 18, that aura gets stronger. From 10 feet, it now emanates 30 feet. So again, I know the spellcasters want to be far back in combat, but I would at least get to the edge of where that paladin's aura is to get the benefits of the saving throws and the ability to be immune to frightened. Do it. At level 19, you get an epic boon feat. These are listed in Chapter 5. Work with your DM on what you plan on choosing. If you have difficulty making a decision, the book recommends you take the boon of True Sight. This is going to give you an ability score modifier boost of +1 to any of your scores beyond 20 up to 30. We all know 20 is the limit, but there are magic items and other things that may take you beyond 20. This would stack on that. You would also get True Sight for a range of 60 feet. So if you've took that fighting skill or that fighting style of blind sight and you only had 10 feet, imagine being able to detect those hidden and invisible creatures for 60 feet. It makes sense here at level 19 because you are basically one of the legendary fighters in your realm. My friends, that is what you get playing a Paladin levels 1 through 20. I think they are tailor-made for combat, and I think your spell slots and spell choices should be aimed at damage dealing. That's just me. If you haven't done so already, check out our Talking Class playlist. You'll find the Paladin subclasses videos that will break down the features of all 4 of the subclass options available to you at level 3. Enjoy your Paladin, and we'll see you at the table.